Okay, we should be live.
Cool.
So, how are things?
Um, I'll stop provoking my cat. I would say things are good. Things are good. Um, it's been busy of late, but you know there are worse things in the world. So, how have you been?
So. There again, the world keeps turning, and as you said, staying busy is important. Things have been hectic here. Been a lot of changes over the past few months, but all in all, not bad.
Yeah, yeah. It's been like a really rainy season lately up here.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we've had flooding and all kinds of stuff. Uh, they've shut roads down. Uh, you know, so the French Broad has been really high. I mean, like, and I know that some of that kind of made its way down toward you, right?
Yeah, we had some issues with flooding down here too. I know that they were a while back. They were pulling vehicles out of Johns River. I guess that had washed down, from Wilson's Creek and other places. So yeah, we had a
Yeah,
lot of water, but I think it's sort of receding a little now.
yeah. Has your dad still been fishing, or I mean, like, is that something that the recent weather would discourage him from, or is he just do as he pleases?
Well, from what I know, I think he's just sort of held off because he's been busy too. With trying to take care of other stuff. He hasn't had a lot of opportunity to go. So
Yeah. Still need to get out sometime on Lake James on his boat. I think that'd be fun.
it can be nice and really peaceful. Um, when I go, for me, the goal is just to be out on the water. To enjoy that relaxation. So I'm really not so much interested in fishing, or competitively like trying to catch
Right.
something.
Right. The fishing is kind of an excuse just to be out on the water, right?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, if you do, I like fish. Don't get me wrong. So, I mean, if you catch something that's worthy of eating, I'd be down. But um, it's not the excitement of catching a fish that thrills me about the idea of getting out and doing that.
True that. True that. Now this is the infamous incense box that I've heard so much about. Now, did you get this at that quill place you were telling me about?
No, though I need to take you there.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Ah, embarrassingly, I got this at Walmart,
Ah.
but it works.
Mm.
So it's got I don't know if you can see, but it's got like a little pan to catch the ashes, and then it's got four holes that you can um, post in incense and light it up.
No, it's pretty nice.
Artie hates it. But, occasionally I do things just to antagonize her. I still love her.
mm.
The best.
Mm.
But she gets ill.
I still say she's a lot more passive than Emily. Emily likes to be petted on her own terms. She doesn't like to be picked up or moved around or really handled a
This
whole
one,
lot.
this one doesn't like to be picked up either.
Uh,
But at the same time, like, she'll just, jump on my lap, or if I'm doing something, she'll come and just smack at it or whatever. So, I mean, like, she's in my space,
mm.
and I don't mind it. She's my cat.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes I invade her space. Sometimes I pick her up, and I'll kind of carry her around or something until she's like, put me down. So, but she's a good kid. I've had to switch her diet lately. I had her on the same food for years, and she's she's kind of started to eat a little bit less. and I saw where she threw up. So I did some research and talked to some people, and turns out there are a few things that could be, but one of the main ones, one of the more popular things, is that they become allergic to food if you feed them the same thing over and over again.
Mm.
They can become allergic to it or sensitized to it.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to switch it up. You got to switch up the protein at least.
Yeah, I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I mean, I was feeding her chicken, but now I've got her on unicorn meat.
Oh, well, that's more magical, at least.
It's expensive.
Isn't everything
surprising.
in life, though? I mean, you know.
I mean, who would have thought unicorn meat would be the price it is? But I mean, shit.
Just do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's true. So, what have you been thinking about lately? What's something that's, I don't want to say something that's kept you up at night, but what's something you're concerned with?
Well, the main thing that I have noticed lately has been something that you and I have talked about before. It deals with elements that I've seen online. You could call it online bullying, or there's just this feeling of toxicity. You know, people being cruel to each other in that space, being online, and it's kind of disheartening.
Where are you seeing it most? I mean, do you find it on, the main social media sites like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, or are you seeing it on like YouTube and Reddit and things like that?
Well, I really haven't seen that on Instagram necessarily, but I don't use Instagram a lot these days. I have seen it on Facebook in certain groups, and a lot on Twitter, and in some of the other sites that I use, FetLife, for example. On the forums there's a lot of negativity, people just being cruel to one another, I suppose because they can, and they have emotional agendas. So
I thought FetLife would be a safe space.
well,
I mean, maybe I was wrong, but
well,
I thought that was a place
I mean,
where you could go and let the inner freak out.
well, maybe, at one time that was the intention, but I think just like with any website can have the intention of being a safe space, but it doesn't mean that the people who use the site are going to use it, in a positive way necessarily. So,
I mean, anything specific that you've encountered? I mean, like, I'll preface by saying this. I've seen a trend, and it may not be new, but I was looking at some YouTube videos the other day, and I do enjoy watching debates and long-form conversations, as you do. But one of the things that is it's just such a common title these days is, so-and-so destroys
yeah.
so-and-so.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like that's some big title or crown that you should wear,
Right. But I mean, it's like saying, okay, this video is an example of this person just destroying or demolishing this other person, and it's probably cherry picked. You're cherry picking certain pieces of the conversation.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, okay, then what?
Right. Yeah, it leads to nowhere.
Yeah, even if you did destroy them, like, did you gain them as an ally after this?
No.
Probably not. I mean,
no, I can give you a decent example of that. Unfortunately, it's a bit of an embarrassing example, but I think if we as individuals are unable to, admit our faults and show vulnerability, then why are we here, So I made this post on FetLife the other day, and basically I shared a book review that I had read. Seemed interesting to me, and this was, even though it was on FetLife, this was a pagan group that was there, and this was a pagan book. So anyway, this guy made a reply to my post, my post was very neutral. I wasn't saying, oh, this is going to be the greatest book in the world or you should buy it. I just said, hey, I came across this. It looks interesting. If you're interested, check this out. So anyway, he left a comment, and his comment was pretty seething in its own way. he wasn't outright disrespectful, but it was in the tone and the wording and the way that he spoke. Basically, he said that I was stupid for posting something about this book because of the book itself, from what he knew of it, and because of the publishing company that was putting the book out. And so, anyway, like, I eventually had what I would consider a knee-jerk sort of emotional response. And basically, I replied saying, look, if you knew anything at all about this author, you would understand that she's not going to write something that's going to waste someone's time. Like, there's worth and effort and energy put into this, and that's why I posted it. And I ended my response terribly by saying, look, just because you may think you're the smartest guy in the room, it doesn't give you the right to be a jerk. And so that was that. And in retrospect, I felt really shitty because I had done the same thing that he had done. You see, we had a spiral or a circle going.
Then how do you break that cycle? I mean,
Yeah.
like, do you think conversely, if you had said, hey, maybe you're right, let's talk about it? I mean, like, or do you think that person would have just been like, no, I've criticized you, you're wrong, I don't want to hear about your shit anymore, I don't want to hear from you anymore?
Well, I don't think that it would have been that extreme case of the latter, but I do think it simply would have been more of that same sort of tone that he was using, as if to say, okay, you're obviously an idiot, so I'm going to educate you on what is a good pagan book. And I think he would have just continued in that stream, not necessarily even meaning to be insulting. It's just, I feel like that was the air that he was coming from. So I don't know what the perfect example is, but I do know that I felt bad having responded that way, after I thought about it. And the only thing that I can say there is the best thing to do is to try to be more attentive to what you post before you post it, before you hit that button. Reread it and think, is this, the kind of energy that I want to put out there in the world? Do I want to be that person or this person?
It's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all too often we don't think about what kind of energy we're putting out into the world.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen people do, and I really admire this, is that even if you know a lot about something, if you take someone that's enthusiastic at the beginning stages, like think about how you were when you first got into something that is now an obsession, or now something you've done for years. Think about the beginning stages and the enthusiasm you had for it. You being more knowledgeable now, if you encountered that person at the beginning stage, wouldn't you want to fuel that enthusiasm rather than discourage it or slam mistakes or inconsistencies? I mean, maybe he thought he was. Maybe he thought, well, if this guy's really into magic or whatever, I'm just going to, out of the gate, tell him he's on the wrong path, and I'm going to do it in a very brash way, and he'll thank me for it later.
Yeah.
But probably the better approach is to go into it from the perspective of, okay, I'm not a fan of these things that you're pushing, but let me tell you what I do like, or it's hard to find the correct approach.
It is.
To some, but
well, this speaks, I think, to what you just said. If he had worded his statement differently, instead of saying what he said in the way he said it, if he had simply said something like asking a question, like saying, I went and read this review that you posted, and I didn't see a lot there that seems like to me this book is going to be a great addition to the pagan community. So what was it about this that you really liked? If he had said that, then I could have went there, like, immediately, and I could have been like, okay, this thing, and I don't know about this, but this speaks to me. Like, we could have really had some meaningful dialogue if his tone and his approach had been different.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's actually a great way to word it. And I think maybe that's the way to go about it, is to say, okay, You know, I mean, like, even if you do feel in your in your in your brain and your confidence that you know more about something, someone comes in with that, you know, it may be better to say, okay, explain yourself. What is it about that? You know,
Mm.
not to the end goal of reducing them down to some blithering idiot, you know, exposed in their ignorance, but maybe, you know, maybe they do have something to offer that you don't know. Maybe it would do you good to remember that time when you were not as knowledgeable about a certain subject, you know?
Mm.
We're all ignorant about something, you know? More knowledgeable about other things.
Well, I think you touched on something right there in that it seems to me, and there again, I'm not speaking for the whole world, but it seems like, as a percentage, a lot of people now are addressing things like that, and they come from this perspective of, I already consider this other person an idiot, or I already, have it in my head that they're completely wrong. And so there's no vulnerability there, and there's no desire to want to learn or to hear what they have to say. It's all about, I disagree with you, so I'm going to use this venue, this medium, to attack you and to show you that you're wrong. And so I think a lot there too, these people, they have this idea that, oh, I'm right, so I'm going to educate you, like I'm going to better you because I'm right. The point is, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong in this biased, that's an opinion view thing, like you got to set that aside, I think, in order to get anywhere with opposing views.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, for a couple of reasons. One, because people don't care what you know until they know that you care, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so even if you have a legitimate point, you're probably not going to get past that wall if you approach it from you know, you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. That's not the way to start a conversation.
No.
Even if you think that,
No.
even if that's going on in your head,
Yeah.
you're not going to break ground. I mean, you're not going to meet in the middle on anything when you do that.
No.
Um,
Mm-mm.
and that can be dangerous. You know, you've got to compromise. You got to give a little bit um, in order to gain something. Let me ask you a random question. Um, what's something that's often misunderstood about you?
Hmm. That's a wow. I don't know about that. I mean, because you're talking about, you're asking a question, but it deals with someone else's perspective, and oftentimes I just sort of live very forwardly and outspokenly in the sense that I share pretty much, everything across the board about me. So I don't know what would be misinterpreted right off.
Well, I say that because I mean, you're not a small talk type person. I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah,
so the conversations you do have and you've had with many people, I'm sure, become involved and you've had a lot of friendships and relationships in your life. So, um, what were some of the common things that you thought this is a thing that people often get wrong, or maybe misread about you and the way that you approach the world, or the way you think,
mm.
the way you live your life?
uh, I don't know. I mean, on a surface level, maybe I could say, DS is a part of that because not everybody knows what DS is, or a lot of people still, even now, don't know much about the lifestyle as far as dominance and submission is concerned. I talk about it a lot, but I don't always, go into depth. And so, if someone hears that word, or I talk about submission, and they're going only on their biased experience of what they know about the lifestyle, then they're probably really not getting how I view it because my view is very different from a lot of other people. So,
Right.
yeah.
As it's going to be. I mean, you can you, you can name a group, but that doesn't tell you how all members of the group are going to react or respond or even think about, the subject matter.
Yeah, yeah.
And that could be any group. I mean, that could be um, teachers, or engineers, or shit, people that like to smoke cigarettes.
Who would do that? They're terrible for
you.
you.
Take a smoker, you're not going to get the exact same person just because they like to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right about that. I mean, and even there, like in groups, what you're going to find are trends. You're going to find some things that are pretty popular that most people in that group sort of, go in that direction. But there's always going to be diversity and uniqueness, within any group that you come across.
Yeah, and believe me, I mean, like the misinterpretation and what's happened with you online, I see it too. I mean, I see it out there, and there are a lot of factors that are perpetuating it. I mean, the internet is a great tool. The technology we have is a great tool. It's also an echo chamber. It also allows people to live in bubbles,
Yeah.
where they don't have to hear or at least face people with other opinions. Empathy is scarce
Yeah, unfortunately
in
it
that
is.
environment. So there are definitely struggles, but you know I know you feel the same way. I don't think it's the end. There's still a lot of really good people out there, and there's still a lot of people way smarter than us with good intentions who you know are looking to find the same solutions that we are. And I think the conversation has to continue in order to find those solutions. You
Yeah.
can't shut people up. That's not the way to do it. No matter how, uh, you know, no matter how painful it may be to listen
Right.
sometimes.
No, I agree with you. And the point that you just made about there being other people out there, that's what I've had to remind myself. Because, like I said, seeing all this, negativity online, I have to remember that there are people out there in the online community that care and are genuinely trying to better themselves and others, and they're trying to make a difference in the world. Actually, earlier today, I received an email from someone who did a tarot reading for me. Um, and I found it very helpful. But I mean, she went out of her way to do that, and she invested like 30 minutes in this reading.
Wow.
And to me, yeah, I mean, that's a great gift that someone just says, okay, I'm willing to do this for you. Like, I didn't pay for this. She did it out of her own time and energy because she cared and because we had talked and networked, online and shared some ideas about doing tarot readings and oracle work and stuff. And so, yeah, it's just there are good points and good people out there.
There are good people, and there are good people everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere I've ever traveled to. I mean, like, there's that sort of local stigma of, not local to where we are, but just local to wherever you are, that if you travel too far away, the world's going to swallow you up, or
Oh yeah, yeah,
bad people will do harm to you.
yeah.
Bad people can do harm to you here, wherever you are.
Right.
And everywhere I've ever been, there have been wonderful people.
Yeah.
So I want to try and bridge a couple things, and maybe it'll be possible, maybe not. But you were talking about tarot um, and magic, and I know magic has been a passion of yours all your life. That can be defined many ways.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've recently heard you talk about violence in video games, and not that you haven't partaken or I haven't partaken in video games violence, first-person shooters, massive multiplayer onlines,
Yeah, yeah.
games that we've grown up on. I mean, we've played, but you've been researching and doing some work to find some people that are finding different ways to create video games, and I think that's kind of awesome. So, would you mind kind of explaining that a little bit?
Well, I think a big part of that is the fact that the indie game community is much more recognized now than it was back in the day. You know, it used to be insanely difficult to make a video game. You basically had to have the technology and the backing of some type of company in order to put something out there, and then you were to some degree regimented by this company of them saying, look, if you don't make something that sells, you know, this X amount, then you're screwed. Like, we're not going to do it. We're not going to back you. So, but now the indie scene is pretty huge. Like, you've got small teams, 4 or 5 people getting together, making their own studio or just working on a project and then putting out a game. And so, because they don't have those pressures of you have to make this certain type of game that's going to sell in this kind of market, now it's really open. You get games like Journey, which you told me that you played. You know, beautiful exploration of ideas that don't have to center around violence necessarily. You know.
I love Journey. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's also well designed in that, like, you have to. It's a cooperative play game.
Hmm.
You have to work with other people to get certain, you know, benefits from the game.
Hmm.
But I look back, you know, I mean, like games that like we grew up on, even games like Zelda. I mean, like Zelda was probably my favorite childhood game. But part of the reason wasn't, and there was violence in Zelda. I can't skirt that, but part of it was that it was an adventure quest. I mean, you were seeking out items, and you were trying to find new, you know, pathways through labyrinths that were set in front of you.
Yeah.
So that you could gain items, and those items could be traded or used, you know, to get to the next goal. It was a puzzle, and I think engaging that part of the brain is something that games need to do more of. I mean, not that shooters don't do that. I'm sure they do, but it also, and I'm guilty of this because I play them, but it also harkens back to a primordial part of us that just says, okay, this is not a member of the tribe, kill it. You know? And that's probably not the way that we need to start approaching things, you know? That if it doesn't look like you, or if it's not part of your group, you should attack it. That tribalism eventually has to go away.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to say that I think violence in video games is like the cause of, you know, all the evils of society, because I don't think that at all, and I don't think you do either. Having said that, though, I do think there is something, I think it's worth taking a look at, you know, to say, if I spend 5 years playing really violent video games, is that in any way, shape, or form affecting my view of life and death, or, as you said a second ago, are there people out here in the real world that I'm sort of viewing as orcs, you know, or as someone outside of my tribe because there are differences, and, you know, like, is there any correlation there? There are some videos where people sort of get into this. A guy named Jesse Shell did a keynote. If I can remember, I'll post a link to his talk at the bottom of this video, this upload. Yeah, it's really good, really thought-provoking.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and again, just to disclaim, you know, violence in video games, I mean, I'm sure it's been blamed for violent acts, but there have been a lot of violent acts in the last decade or two that there are groups that pinpoint and say, okay, well, this is the reason for school shootings, or, you know, this is, and so it's easy to reduce it down to one causality, but it is a cocktail of things.
Yeah.
In many cases, and it may be a familiar cocktail. I'll give you that. It may be, you know, a number of ingredients that show themselves over and over again, but it's not the one thing. It's not just, you know, it's not just access to guns. It's not just medication. It's not just isolation or bullying. Oftentimes it is a combination of all of those things.
Yeah, and probably more. I mean, life is such a varied and nuanced journey. I don't know if you could ever truly, completely isolate that. You could look at it from an objective viewpoint and say, like you said a second ago, here are some common threads. Maybe if we work on some of these problems collectively, will make a difference, in combating this behavior and hopefully, trying to wean out of that. But I don't know that you'll ever pinpoint all of those factors because I really believe experience plays such a huge role, and experience is broad depending on the individual.
Uh, well said. It is very broad. Well, I'm gonna throw you a fastball pitch
Okay.
here for the ending. You ready for this?
Okay. Hey, before you go, I've got one for you too, so don't think you're getting off the
Yeah.
hook. After this, like I'm.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you want to go first?
No,
Do you
no,
want me
you go ahead. I'm saving mine.
You're saving yours?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because I thought of this, and this has been this theme question has been used a lot in podcasts, but I tried to word it a bit differently. Um, if you had the world's attention for 10 seconds, what would you say?
10 seconds isn't enough time. You know me, I'm
What's
worried.
enough time for a sentence?
Really?
It's enough time for a saying, but to distill it down, if you had the world's attention for a moment,
Mm.
what ask or request would you make of your audience, the world?
Wow, that's a big one. Um, Honestly, I think it harkens back to that post that I sent you the other day, where that woman was talking about her marriage and the fact that basically, they've been together for like say 20 or 30 years, and one of the things that she attributes to their success is the fact that even though they argue at times, and they have rough spots as people do in marriages, they always try to see each other's humanity. Beyond the disagreements and the negativity, they always try to remember that each of them are human beings and they have faults and problems, and they try to value that so that they're not blinded by their emotions and bias and all that. So that's it right there. Yeah.
I think
Value
that's
other
great.
people's humanity.
Yeah. Oh, hey, preach on. I think that's something that will definitely help for sure.
What about you?
You also have to send me that link. Um,
What would be
if it's
your
something you remember?
yeah? What would be your 10-second thing?
Well, here's the point where I ask a question that I was completely unprepared to answer. Yeah. Well, it's candid, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like you know me. It's probably going to be something along the lines of, before you react, think.
Mm.
And there are many, many timeless forms of that sentiment, which is, put yourself in their shoes, or be considerate of others. Treat others as you would want to be treated. But I say that now because I think we're entering a time where it's so easy and so tempting just to fall into your group and to be justified.
Yeah.
Justified sometimes even in violence
Yeah.
against someone that doesn't think the way you do. And I think you would be surprised how much you have in common with the person you don't agree with.
Yeah. Yeah. On different levels. Yeah.
There's a lot of common ground. You choose not to see it. We do. I'm guilty of that. You are too, probably, but
Never. But go ahead.
never. Right,
Yeah.
never.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I don't have a distilled down perfect answer. I
That's
probably
all-
should have thought of that.
It's all right. Okay, so are you ready for the big question that I have for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, this will take a moment to explain for those of you who don't, who are watching and don't know the story, but it's oftentimes been a discussion between my friend and I here that he has said before that I probably know him better than anyone else on the planet, because we have shared our lives in that sort of very vulnerable and open way. So in a sense, I know things about him that other people don't. And so my question to you on that is, if you reach this place or this space where you felt comfortable sharing something with other people that they didn't know, or that's a part of your side, what would that be? Like, what could you give safely that would be meaningful, but would give them more awareness of really who you are, like a clearer picture of you?
That I fail all the time, and I hurt sometimes too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I think the most common misconception that I've gotten in my life is that um, that I somehow seem unscathed,
Yeah, that's, yeah,
and so
you've always.
people are looking to see, like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
bad did that how bad did that affect Scott? I've become accustomed to just dealing with it underneath my skin, but I'm human, and so there are a lot of times I fail, there are a lot of times I fall, and there are a lot of times that things hurt me, and I'm just not good at expressing that it's happened, or
Mm.
that something that was said affected me that way. I mean, like, and I'll say this: I think that's separate. In most cases, I think that's separate from self-esteem,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
um, you can have a healthy self-esteem, and you can still, react differently to pain or to failure.
Mm.
Um, you know, I don't tend to focus on it. I don't tend to dwell on it. But there are times that things happen, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's I mean, it's devastating,
Yeah.
And then everyone around you is just like, yeah, seem okay,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
going good, I mean, like, um, so yeah, I mean, that's something that, I mean, shit, I think everyone should be willing to say. Everyone should be able to say, and it's something that I've said it before, but I don't know how. I don't, I don't know what the reception is of it.
Well, cheers to your vulnerability.
Yeah, man. We should all be more vulnerable, eh?
Yeah,
You
we
know?
should, and that's sort of the thing. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to mention that, because there again, growing up, out of the group, you were always considered the hero. Everyone looked up to you, and I think to some degree they sort of forced you into that role of, if there was any kind of chaos or uncertainty, I mean, it was up to you to figure it out, or to lead, or to be okay. Um, and that's horrendously unfair to be shoved into that place.
Well, in all honesty, it was partially my fault. I mean, because I gladly took it on. I mean, you can say ego was involved or whatever, but I mean, like, I never shied from that responsibility of if I felt like the group needed me, or if people needed me that I cared about,
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to do that. But and it's because for certain personality types, it's really hard to say, "Hey, man, I don't know if I can do this any better than you can."
Mm. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to try, and I'm glad you have confidence in me, but I'm winging it too.
Mm.
But
It's hard to admit that. I will agree with you. I've had some fairly serious conversations with a friend of mine about like online dating and the complexities of that whole scene, and that's one of the things that she mentioned is the difficulty of being vulnerable with people that you don't know, in that space of hanging out or talking to them via text message or whatever. If you get to a moment where you're going to share something very real and genuine about yourself, particularly if it happens to be something that could be viewed as a fault, you're really kind of going out on a limb there, and that takes courage.
yeah, you're going against like hundreds or thousands of years of biology there,
Yeah,
because you we're not used to saying the things that we're not good at.
yeah.
We're used to advertising the things that we feel we're really good at.
Well, and now you're
That's
also,
it.
yeah, you're also competing with this technology of, oh, so and so has a fault, so I'm just going to swipe, and go on to the next, because there are literally billions of people out there that you can connect with. So for some people, I think they're sort of searching for this pseudo perfection. In my opinion, that's unrealistic, but I think it happens because there's so much availability now for people to meet and network.
That's a very good point. Yeah, perfection in human beings, it doesn't exist. I mean, you know, and I'm going to give no advice on that. I mean, like, but yes, I think we should stop taking ourselves so seriously. I'll say it like that.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is that you know, we should stop viewing ourselves as that we're perfect and we deserve perfection, or
Oh yeah,
you know, we deserve the highest standard that there is, and you create that standard. Take a good look at yourself.
yeah,
If that's your attitude, you know, you deserve perfection. Look in the mirror.
mm.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you have something to add, and I'm not saying you. I'm saying everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure you have something to contribute, but you know, don't be so judgmental.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't think that's going to take you where you want to go. It's been my experience that people, like life, people are also nuanced. They're complicated. You know, there's a lot of levels, and it takes a lot of time to unravel that. Depending on the person, you know, if they're very open about themselves, and you can really get in there and kind of see, maybe you can learn that in a short period of time. But it's not always easy to understand who a person really is unless they're willing to give it.
Yeah, and I think that's the place you want to get to, is that you, whether it be a friendship, or whether it be a family member, or whether it be a romantic relationship, you want to get to a place where you can both be honest and you both feel comfortable being honest
Mm.
with each other and saying, hey, look, you know, I really suck at this, but I'm good at this. Can you deal with that? You know,
Yeah.
and being able to have that conversation of seeing what they are, not just what you want them to be,
Mm.
but who they are. You know,
Yeah.
to really listen and to really see. You know, to the best of your ability. I mean, like, you know, our eyes are jaded,
Mm.
you know, by our own minds and our own ways of thinking, but I think that's a way forward, maybe.
I think it is, and I'll go further as if to say, when you can reach that moment, that horizon, there's a beauty that exists there that surpasses what they look like, or you know, like what kind of race they are. I mean, gender, all that shit is set to the side because you're
Yeah,
seeing something that's very significant and sort of core and internal. You know, it's a very unique sharing. I found it to be. I don't know. Like I think that's the core of what you're looking for, where you want to go ultimately.
absolutely. It's the person that, you know, that wants to be. You know, I mean, like, it's what was it? There's a Gandhi quote that says, "Be the person, or be the change you want to see in the world."
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
When you see the expression of that change in someone, that should push past the rest. You
Yeah.
know.
No, I agree
Um,
with you there.
yeah.
That was a part of
Well,
why I wanted to do these podcasts to start with. You know, I wanted to make a conscious effort to try to put some dialogue and some information out there and just see what people had to say. You know, hopefully to start some of these conversations and see if any kind of ground could be broken on some of these complicated matters, like, you know, today's talk as far as online, you know, hostility and stuff like that.
well, and I would say to whoever you talk to next, it's fun to do this. I mean, like, it's fun to engage and to sort of have a dialogue. So, I mean, don't be afraid.
Mm.
It's the way forward. It's, you can't shut down the conversation. We've got to keep talking in order to get to a place where we're happy. All of us, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and in order for me to be happy, I'm gonna have to hop off and watch Westworld because it's on right now.
Wow, you're shafting me for a TV show. That's so harsh. I mean, I just can't.
But I love you. You know I love you.
Love you too, man. I enjoyed it. Definitely We should do it again sometime. I'll keep you in the loop. I know that next recording that I'm going to do, like I said, it's going to be about online dating. I already talked to my friend about it, and she seemed really interesting and coming on and sharing some of her experiences.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, I'll keep you in the loop as far as how it goes. And
And
take care
I
of
love the
yourself.
idea. I love the idea that like with each person that you're talking to, that you might identify a subject that would be interesting to delve in with them. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. I have varied interests, but yeah, if you're going to have a guest, you want to get into like, what their thing is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, listen, I love you, man. I've enjoyed it.
I love you too, man. So did I. Definitely take care, and I'll talk with you later.
All right, sounds good.